Tanjiro Kamado is the perfect example of a main character who reached the peak of his abilities through sheer hard work and dedication. Even though he had an incredible sense of smell and an unbreakable will, he still had to train for 2 whole years before he could even attempt the final selection. But what if Tanjiro was just straight up overpowered from the start? In today's video, we'll explore what would happen to the Demon Slayer story if Tanjiro was a prodigy like Yoriichi. Now, first up, let's establish what exactly it means to be a prodigy, because in this story, Tanjiro doesn't naturally have the ability to activate his Demon Slayer mark like Yoriichi. Additionally, he can't enter the selfless state and access the transparent world like a young Yoriichi could either. He's simply a genius learner with exceptional combat skills. Think of it like this: while Canon Tanjiro needed 2 years to master water breathing under Urokodaki, this version would pick things up at a much faster pace. We already know that the Demon Slayers like Yome Himejima and Muichiro Tokito became Hashiras in just 2 months after joining the Corps, so Tanjiro's talent would surpass even that level. And that brings us to the start of our story in the Taisho era, where Tanjiro is living his peaceful life as a charcoal seller. Just like in the original timeline, Tanjiro's family is attacked by Muzan, and Nezuko is turned into a demon while everyone else is killed. Gyu Tomioka still arrives at the scene and sends the siblings to Urokodaki, and this is where our story begins to emerge. When Tanjiro begins his training with the former Water Hashira, the old master quickly realizes that this boy is something special. Where normal students would take months to understand the basics of total concentration breathing, Tanjiro grasps the concept in just a few days. His body adapts to the rigorous training on the mountains, and his combat instincts are razor sharp. Tanjiro's natural aptitude allows him to pick up water-breathing forms at an incredible pace, rivaling the skills of Sabito within just a month. Now, Urokodaki is a cautious guy, so even though Tanjiro is an elite swordsman until this point, he forces Tanjiro to train for an entire year to refine his skills. The final selection itself plays out similarly to the original story, but his superior technique and speed allow Tanjiro to decapitate the hand demon without sustaining any serious injuries. Because Tanjiro completed his training so fast, he becomes a demon slayer an entire year before he did in the original timeline. So in the time until the major arcs of the original story, Tanjiro excels at missions and reaches the ranks of Hinoto by the time Inosuke, Zenitsu, Genya, and Kanao pass the final selection. Now let's talk about how this affects the early story arcs, because the Asakusa arc probably doesn't even happen at all. You see, the Swamp Demon was incredibly weak compared to the others we see in the series, so someone of Tanjiro's rank wouldn't be assigned to a mission like that. Where our timeline probably converges with the original is the Tsuzumi Mansion arc, because as a former 12 Kizuki, Kyogai is a pretty tough customer. Now, there's absolutely no doubt about Tanjiro winning this encounter, but the real question is whether he'll still team up with Zenitsu and Inosuke. Chances are they'll still unite as a team, but this time Tanjiro will be more of a mentor figure than an equal partner. The next test for Tanjiro comes during the Mount Naragumo arc, where he faces off against the Lower Moon 5 Rui. In the original timeline, this battle nearly killed Tanjiro, and he only survived because Nezuko developed her blood demon art, and he awakened the Hinokami Kagura. Nezuko probably doesn't even get involved in the fight this time, because Tanjiro's strength has constantly kept her shielded from the action, and even if she does, there's no way she's getting her blood demon art here. So what that means is, while Tanjiro is much stronger than he was in the original timeline, Rui is still a very dangerous matchup, as he doesn't have Nezuko's support. As the battle unfolds, Tanjiro is able to cut through Rui's threads, but he struggles to find an opening to counterattack. This is when he remembers his father's dance, and instinctively uses the Hinokami Kagura to blast away Rui's webs, while simultaneously launching forward to behead the demon. Thanks to Tanjiro's elevated skill, the Hinokami Kagura Clear Blue Sky that he unleashes is executed with near-perfect form, and he successfully decapitates Rui in one decisive strike. Gyu still arrives as backup, but there's no demon left for him to kill. Now, this is where things get interesting, because without the confrontation with Shinobu about sparing Nezuko's life, there's no need for the Hashira meeting. But also, Tanjiro has successfully defeated one of the 12 Kizuki all by himself, meaning that he's eligible to be promoted to a Hashira as soon as he finishes enough missions to reach the rank of Kinoe. Until then, however, Tanjiro returns to the Butterfly Mansion after the Mount Naragumo arc, and he asks Shinobu if she knows anything about the Dance of the Fire God. Just like the original timeline, Shinobu says Rengoku would be the best resource for that, and connects the two of them when it's time for Rengoku to investigate the Mugen Train. Now, I don't think we need to explore the Mugen Train arc too much, because it's pretty clear that Tanjiro won't have any trouble taking out Enmu. But how would he deal with Akaza? Given that Tanjiro has Yoriichi's level of talent, he should be able to follow the movements of the Upper Moon 3 by this point. That means he actually fights alongside Rengoku, but without their Demon Slayer marks, the two swordsmen simply aren't strong enough to defeat Akaza. Rengoku's death here is even more emotional in this timeline, as he dies protecting Tanjiro from one of Akaza's attacks. This devastating loss affects Tanjiro deeply, but it also ignites something within him. He becomes even more determined to master sun breathing and grows stronger to protect those he cares about. This mission also raises Tanjiro's rank high enough that he qualifies to become a Hashira, and as the new Sun Hashira, he takes Rengoku's vacant spot. All the Hashira are stunned by his accomplishments, and now he is their equal. Sanemi doesn't act on his own to test Nezuko and waits for Master Kageya's official verdict. From there, we move on to the Entertainment District arc, where Tanjiro joins Tengen Uzui to hunt for demons in the Yoshiwara district. As he's already a Hashira at this point, Tanjiro is in direct communication with Tengen, so he's not as disoriented when the battle with Daki begins. Tanjiro is able to fight her to a stalemate all by himself, as his refined sun-breathing techniques allow him to keep up with the Upper Moon 6's speed and power. When Gyutaro emerges and the real battle begins, Tanjiro and Tengen quickly overwhelm him, while Zenitsu and Inosuke keep Daki occupied. But here's where things get problematic. Nezuko doesn't have a blood demon art and is basically not a factor in this fight. This means that there's no way to cure Tengen after he gets poisoned, and the Sound Hashira dies at the end of the battle instead of just losing an arm and an eye. This puts an even greater burden on Tanjiro's shoulders, as he's now witnessed 2 Hashira dying while he fought alongside them. Tanjiro still breaks his sword in the Entertainment District arc due to the sheer intensity of the battle, and the Swordsmith Village arc showcases just how far Tanjiro has come. During his training with Yoriichi Type 0 doll, Tanjiro's prodigious learning allows him to quickly adapt to Yoriichi's fighting patterns, and he's able to put those into practice. Since he's an actual Hashira now, Tanjiro spars against Muichiro in the Swordsmith Village as well, since both of them have respect for each other. When Hantengu appears, Tanjiro uses sun breathing to ward off his clones, and at this point, he's refined the style so he can maintain it for longer periods without exhausting himself. This means that when he hunts down Hantengu's main body in the forest, Tanjiro is able to cleanly behead it. However, since Hantengu is an Upper Moon, he recovers from the blow and releases his final form, Urami, to deal with Tanjiro and Genya. But even this isn't enough to stop Tanjiro, and he defeats the demon right there in the forest without dragging the battle on till sunrise. This might not seem super important until you realize that if Tanjiro doesn't go out into the sun, then neither does Nezuko. Since both Muzan and the Demon Slayers never learn of her immunity to the sun, does this mean that the Infinity Castle arc doesn't happen? Well, not exactly. Now there's a new threat that demands Muzan's attention, a sun-breathing user that's absolutely wrecking his upper moons. Thanks to the Hashira training, Tanjiro is almost at Gyomei's level by the time Muzan launches his assault on the Ubuyashiki mansion. His first major battle in the Infinity Castle is against Akaza, and unlike the original timeline, this battle is an absolute stomp. Think about it. Yoriichi became so great with no training or guidance. Tanjiro has the same potential, but with over 5 centuries of knowledge to push him even further. After defeating Akaza, Tanjiro and Giyu rush to help the others, but unfortunately, they're too late to save Muichiro and Genya. While Tanjiro's addition spares Gyomei and Sanemi a ton of injuries, the total number of Demon Slayers that face Muzan in the Sunrise Countdown is the same as the original timeline. And this is where Tanjiro's potential makes the biggest difference, as his mark, movements, and swordsmanship all awaken memories of Yoriichi in Muzan's mind. His sun-breathing doesn't just damage Muzan, it opens up the old scars, actively preventing the Demon King from regenerating properly. But the final nail in the coffin is when Tanjiro delivers the perfect 13th form of sun-breathing that not even Yoriichi could execute perfectly. Muzan's 7 hearts and 5 brains are simultaneously slashed as Tanjiro tracks them through the transparent world, and the damage is just too much to recover from. Muzan doesn't even have the mental fortitude to try turning Tanjiro into a demon this time, because the defeat is just that overwhelming. With Muzan vanquished and the demons wiped out for good, the Demon Slayers disband, with Tanjiro continuing to carry on Yoriichi's legacy through the Hinokami Kagoda dance. If you like this video, go and check out my other channel for more awesome Demon Slayer content.